get it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. Hopefully you guys are having a phenomenal Friday. Maybe it is now Saturday if you guys are tuning in on another place in the country or world. And I hope you guys are having a great start to you guys this Saturday. With that being said, there's a lot to get into on today's show. Now, we've got some fight previews, a fight recap, some boxing news. All the above will be going down on the duration of today's show. So we got a lot to get into on tonight's show. But before I get into it all, though, as always, if you guys have any topics, questions, or things you guys want me to discuss on today's show, leave it in the chat, and I'll make sure to address that as I go throughout the duration of the show. And then, if you guys are tuning in on YouTube, make sure to smash that likes button for me. I always appreciate that. It helps out the show tremendously. Now, let me check this out real quick. All right, we're good to go with audio. So, as I said, lots to get on today's show. And as I said, if you guys have any comments, if you're tuning in on X, if you're tuning in on YouTube, whatever the case may be, make sure to leave it in the chat. Your comment will pop up on the screen, and we'll go back and forth and discuss whether it's you debate with me, you have a topic you guys want me to discuss, a question you have for me, whatever the case may be, leave it in the chat. I'll see it and put it up on the show. So let's get right into it, though. A quick fight recap before I get into the preview is a fight that went down where CP Freshmart takes out a unanimous decision win over Junior Zarate to win the vacant WBC light flyweight title. He now becomes a 2-division champion. Shout out him. Congrats on that. I'm not going to go too in-depth on that, but just want to give you guys a quick fight recap on that tremendous victory. He's now a 2-division world champion, which obviously is quite remarkable right there. All right, let's head into now the fight preview. So let's keep it 100. We've been hyping up this card for quite some time. Now, I wouldn't say it's the fight card of the year, or was going to be the fight card of the year, but it was up there. Obviously, you have the two ring cards, the February 22nd, as well as the November one. You know, this card was going to be up there. But guess what? Boxing happened, and now it kind of just completely tinted this fight card this entire week. I mean, what a disaster. If you were talking from Premier Boxing, this fight card is not anywhere near where it once was supposed to be, and we'll be breaking it down, but just disappointing. And obviously, I've already given my thoughts on the Janabek situation. I'll have to recap that a little bit when we get to that part of the segment of the show. But yes, that all happened and unfolded. And then we come into fruition today and the weigh-in situation. I'll be getting into that when we get to it. Let's start off with what actually stayed intact, though. And it is a great fight. Pitbull Cruz will be facing Lamont Roach. Super lightweight fight going down at 140 right now. Pitbull Cruz. He is a man who stands with a 28-2 record and 1 draw with 20 KOs. He's an orthodox fighter, 5'4", 63-inch reach, weighs 27 years old, and a 67% KO ratio. Lamont Roach, on the other hand, is 25-1-1, 9 KOs, orthodox fighter, 5'7", 70-inch reach, has a massive advantage there on Pitbull. Also, he's age 30 and his 33% knockout ratio. So, a quick little tidbit of information. Lamont Roach is, at this moment in time, the 130-pound world champion. Now, he has not defended that belt in 18 months, and I'm not sure he could even get down to 130 ever again, but he does possess the 130 belt at this moment in time. When he steps foot in the ring, here is the details. He will be immediately stripped of his WBA world title at 130 when he steps in the ring with Pitbull Cruz. Why is this? Well, it is obviously, as I said, inactivity. Has not fought for 18 months. Now he's going to be going up for 140, being the interim champion there. Also fought Gervonta Tank Davis early this year for the 135-pound championship. So, who is going to fill this void? Well, Jonathan Dickens. He will now be elevated to world champion. Congratulations to him. And guess what? Jonathan Dickens is fighting on the Japan card, Ring of Samurai, adding a world championship fight to that already stacked card when he fights Hayato Satsumi. This will have that opportunity to be challenged now for a world championship fight on December 27th when they face each other in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So just a little bit tidbit of information, but let's get into the actual fight preview now. Pitbull Cruz. If you don't know Pitbull Cruz, well, I'm not sure what to say about this because this is one of the most entertaining men in boxing. You know what you're getting from him. It's not going to shock anybody. He's not going to go out there and fool everybody with the game plan. This man fights the same way against everybody. So what does that mean? Well, it means that Pitbull Cruz is going to throw an outlandish amount of punches. Whether they land or not, that's to be determined, but he's going to be on the attack the entire time. Relentless. He's the definition of a Mexican-style fighter. Explosive. Obviously, we know he's had wins against Rolly Romero. He's had a great fight against Gervonta Tank Davis. This is a man that goes to war, and he's very tough to knock out. So the odds are this fight will either go for a knockout for Pitbull Cruz or, well, Lamont Roach can win by decision. This man is a man that cannot be stopped. Lamont Roach stopping this man is slim to none. As for Lamont Roach, he is a very slick technician. He's a former WBA super featherweight champ. He relies on timing and defense. And listen, we all saw this against Devonta Tank Davis. I think a lot of people were shocked by Lamont Roach and how he performed, myself included. And we saw this. This is a man who is a very talented fighter. He is extremely technically sound when you talk about fighters in the ring. Now, does he have power? Absolutely not. But this man is very technically sound. And so what could happen in this fight? Well, for Lamont Roach 18 months ago, he was fighting at 130 and he's a world champion. He moved to 135 and surprised a lot of people with Devonta Tank Davis. Obviously, he never hurt Tank Davis in any way, shape, or form, but he should have won that fight. He should be the 135-pound world champion at this moment in time. And now he jumps up to 140, making it a wild jump in weight for him. But it's going to be interesting. It really is one of those styles make fights type of situations. We know what Pitbull brings to the ring. We know what Lamont Roach brings to the ring. Is the more aggressive man, is offense going to win or is defense going to win? It's the grand question that you always ask about in boxing. And so here's the situation we're at in hand. Who's going to win the fight? And I've gone back and forth in this fight. I'll be honest. It is 50-50 in my opinion. If it is by stoppage, Pitbull Cruz will be the man stopping Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach is not stopping Pitbull Cruz. If it goes the distance, I just don't see a way that Pitbull Cruz wins this fight. I think it's quite simple that if this goes 12 rounds, the winner and the interim world champion will be Lamont Roach. I think his skill set is great. It's going to win him some early rounds. But here's the situation at hand. I think we're going to see a stoppage tomorrow. And as I just mentioned moments ago, I think that if this fight is stopped, that the winner will be Pitbull Cruz. And so here's my prediction. I think Pitbull Cruz wins by late stoppage. Lamont Roach will win a lot of rounds, especially early on. But Cruz's pressure is going to break through at some point in time. That's my guess. I don't know if Lamont Roach can last all 12 rounds avoiding Pitbull's pressure. It is a scary man coming at you when he comes after you again and again and again. But we have seen Lamont Roach we've seen Pitbull Cruz struggle with guys that are technically sound. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight prevails. But I will give my prediction to Pitbull Cruz. But it is not a confident, firm prediction here. This is a very 50-50 type fight. If I'm going to give my prediction, I have Pitbull Cruz winning by stoppage. Let me know in the thoughts in the chat real quick. Who do you guys have winning Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz? All right. Co-main event. What a disaster this has been. All right. First of all, shout out to the oldest world champion in all boxing for Erislandy Lara, still staying on the card and taking on this fight. But let's be honest. Does this fight have any hype anymore? Absolutely not. I can sit up here and give you guys this massive breakdown about Erislandy Lara. He's 30-3, 3 draws, 17 KOs in his career. Johan Gonzalez, 33 knockouts. I can give you all these different discussions. But let's be honest. I think we all know what's going to happen on Saturday night. Erislandy Lara, the oldest world champion, will successfully defend that belt and is going to probably stop Gonzalez pretty simply. Now, it could go to decision. Sure, that's very, very possible. But odds are quite high, in my opinion, that we're going to have Lara come out and emerge as world champion or remain world champion by tomorrow night. And the bummer about the situation is this. We were supposed to be in for a 50-50 type fight, a unification. 3 belts were on the line, and the winner would likely get a fight, Terrence Bud Crawford. But thanks to a man that wanted to go out there and cheat, and Janabek, now we don't have a situation. So it's unfortunate what happened here. Disappointing. Obviously, a massive tint on the card, but here it is. Props to Johan Gonzalez. He stepped up. He'll be stepping up on short notice. Erislandy Lara staying on the card. At least we get to see them fight. But yes, I don't really think I need to break this fight down too much. Lara should go out there and win. If you don't know Johan Gonzalez, he's a Venezuelan knockout artist. Great KO ratio, but he's never fought at the elite level. Lara is at the elite level. He's a world champion. Yes, he's 42. He's still elite. I just don't see it going very well for Johan Gonzalez, but here we are with that fight. All right. O'Shaquie Foster. Stephen Kubo Fulton. What a disaster this has been today. And honestly, it's been absolutely baffling of what happened. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. I also want to hear you guys' thoughts in the chat as well. But this fight was supposed to be for the 130-pound world championship. All right. That's what we thought. That's what I talked about with you guys on Wednesday. On Monday, I've always said this was 130. Guess what's happening now, folks? It is going to be for the 135-pound interim championship. How did we get here? Well, let's go through the events that happened today. So, Stephen Kubo Fulton and O'Shaquie Foster weigh in. O'Shaquie Foster, who was the world champion at 130, don't forget that. He makes weight perfectly. No issues there. Then comes Stephen Kubo Fulton, the man who has been trolling fans, I should say, by posting on social media of himself weighing at 164 pounds, of making fun of his weight and all these different things. He comes up on the scale, and guess what? He's 2 pounds overweight. Embarrassing. And I'll add this. Do I have some sympathy from the standpoint of saying, yes, has this fight been nixed over and over again to the point where we didn't know if it was going to happen? It got removed. They've been in training camp for 6 months. Yes. But O'Shaquie Foster, who is the world champion, he made weight. No excuse that he does not make weight as well. So it's embarrassing on that standpoint. But anyway, let's go through the transition here. All of a sudden, we're in a position. Cool Boy Fulton, he misses weight. What happens next? Well, we go through this negotiation, this topic, and all of a sudden we find out that the fight will still go ahead. At first, most people believed that it was going to be a situation where O'Shaquie Foster would have his belt on the line and he could lose the belt, but if he did lose the belt, it just would be a belt that's vacant now. That's not the situation at hand. Instead, Mr. WBC wants to walk up in there and somehow reward Stephen Cool Boy Fulton for missing weight by giving them a chance at winning the 135-pound interim world championship. Mind you, this was just given away recently for an opportunity for two guys to go out there and fight for the WBC interim world championship. I guess those guys are now screwed, and these guys get thrown up onto here. Absolutely disaster here. So now they're fighting for the 135-pound interim championship. O'Shaquie Foster will still retain his 130 title either way, and we'll see what happens now. Obviously, a lot of things are happening at 130. Who knows what happens right there, but it is what it is. Obviously, you could have Ray Vargas emerge. Possibly he could get that chance at 130, possibly in the future as well. Who knows what happens there. Anyways, I want to go into this, though. And before I give you guys a full-on fight preview, I do want to discuss this. I'm going to check something real quickly before I say it. But I'm just going to give you guys my thoughts on this. We look at these guys right now, and I'll be quite frankly honest with you guys. The WBC has had quite the week, and not for the positive. What the WBC has pulled this week has been absolutely embarrassing. When you talk about the outlandish rankings that they came out with this past week, the mandatories, all of which made absolutely no sense whatsoever. But here we are, and then the WBC decides, you know what? We're going to strip Terrence Bud Crawford. Yeah, that was a dumb decision as well, but so be it. It is what it is. And so the WBC has already had a horrendous PR week, and let's be quite frankly honest, it's been quite the run recently in terms of even beyond this week for the WBC. But it is what it is. We have a great fight supposed to happen on Saturday, and here comes the WBC again. And they think that it is wise to do one of the dumbest things I've ever seen one of these sanctioning bodies do. And that is this. They decide to reward a man for coming 2 pounds overweight. How do they do that? Well, the man who was a world champion, O'Shaquie Foster, he makes weight. And then on top of that, the man that is moving up in weight class to challenge him for a world championship comes in 2 pounds overweight. So he already has the advantage going in. And so what does the brilliant WBC want to go out there and do? They decide that they're going to go take this WBC fight and move it up to the 135-pound interim, who they already scheduled just a couple days ago for a fight already being locked in there. I guess those guys can go kick rocks according to the WBC because now we have new guys taking priority over them. And at the same time, you're saying this. You're saying, Stephen Cool Boy Fulton, congratulations. You were irresponsible and you missed weight by 2 pounds. I'm now going to give you an advantage over the man who's a 130-pound world champion because he actually took the weight cut seriously. You did not do so. And guess what? You guys can go fight for an interim world championship now, challenging for Grand the Tank Davis, challenging for Shakur Stevenson, if that is what they decide to go out there and do. Where does that make any sense? It is foolish. And then the WBC wants to stand up here and continue to make these statements talking about Terrence Bud Crawford's a fool and this, that, and the third. No, what Bud Crawford said when he spit all those facts out there the other day were 100% accurate. The WBC was once in position to be the dominant belt. Now they're not that. Now it's a laughingstock if I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. It is a laughingstock. How do people take this thing seriously? It is a joke time and again, and then today they just put the cherry up on top. Outlandish by the WBC. Absolutely embarrassing by them. And so where do we go from here? Well, as I will continue to say, for all the sanctioning bodies and commissioning bodies, there's now emerged a time where guess what? The Ring Magazine belt is going to take priority over all these other bogus belts. Because guess what? There is no sanctioning fee with them. You get the belt, that's the real world champion, and we're all going to acknowledge that. These other belts are what they are. But the WBC just wants to continue to add on more and more crap onto their name. And so congratulations. Today you made yourself look like a fool, and the entire boxing organization looks at this situation, and we can just say confidently, what the heck are they doing? What an absolute shame, Marie Soleiman and this entire group. Absolutely embarrassing. It's baffling to me. I don't even know where to go from this. But yes, we're now fighting a bogus fight for the 135-pound interim world championship. And shout out O'Shaquie Foster, by the way. That man took this weight cut seriously. He upheld to the standards of being a world champion. Stephen Kubo Fulton, not so much. This is a man who claimed to be a 3-weight world champion, and guess what? He can still kind of do that now. I don't get it, but it is what it is. At least we get the fight still to happen. So let's get to a fight preview, and let's talk about this fight. O'Shaquie Foster, 23-2, 12 KOs, orthodox fighter, stands at 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. He is 32 years old with a 52% KO ratio. Kuboy Fulton, 21-1, 8 KOs, orthodox, stands at 5'7". He is a 70-inch reach. He's 31 years old and 38% KO ratio. Now, Kubo Fulton is a man who there were rumors of and talks about on Instagram and X and different social media platforms that if he goes out there and beat O'Shaquie Foster for the 130-pound world championship, that we could be talking pound for pound. Obviously, I think those lights have now been dimmed. He's not going to be on that list. He wasn't going to be on that list for myself anyways, but some had that idea. But let's look at the facts here. This fight's now at 135. And I would be a fool not to talk about this fact. Kuboy Fulton's going to be A-okay on weight. He was 2 pounds overweight today. He didn't have as serious of a weight cut. Now, he was cutting a lot of weight, but he still came in 2 pounds over. Interesting. O'Shaquie Foster made weight. If we're talking from a weight standpoint, Stephen Kuboy Fulton has the advantage here. The WBC was stupid enough to go give the man who cheated a little bit of an advantage. One of the stupidest things I've ever said, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again. But for Kuboy Fulton, yes, he is now going to have this advantage here. He's going to be the man leading in terms of weight, in terms of recovery, in terms of body. He has that advantage. But for Foster, the current WBC 130-pound world champion, slick mover, rangy jab, discipline on defense, while Kuboy, former unified super bantamweight champion, sharp boxer. Obviously, he has lost to Noe Inoue. He had the masterful performance against Brandon Figueroa at 126, where he became world champion there. So this man can box. We all know that. He's very, very skilled. If I'm going to look at this fight, though, I love the way Foster fights. And this is a 50-50 fight. I've always been hyped about this fight since it got announced way, way, way back. And I love it. Foster's great, very, very skilled, technically sound fighter. Kuboy Fulton, on the other hand, he is going to have the weight advantage in this fight. And I'd hate to see it, but that's why I said what the WBC did was so stupid, because I think, and this my honest opinion, is that Kuboy will win this fight. Now, it is still 50-50. I could see this fight going either way. It is going to be a very good fight, but if I have to give my prediction, I have Kuboy Fulton coming away victorious in this fight. I think he's got the advantage. The size advantage is going to help him. You would think that the man moving up in weight class would not have the size advantage. That's inaccurate, because guess what? He has the weight advantage going into this fight. If it was still at 130, I would probably give Foster the victory. And ultimately, I do think Foster's a little bit better fighter, but it is what it is. So that's my prediction on this fight. I do have Fulton winning this fight and being the interim 135-pound champion. At least Foster will be able to retain his 130-pound world championship. But this fight could go either way. I'm not going to hold myself to this too much. I just think it's a very good fight. Here's the good one. This is remarkable. Kicking off the main pay-per-view card, Jesus Ramos Jr., Shane Mosley Jr. What an excellent fight. Jesus Ramos Jr., the young man. If you have not checked out my interview with him, I have 2 of them out right now. You guys go check it out on my YouTube channel. But he's a man coming from Arizona. 21-1 record, 17 KOs, southpaw fighter, stands at 6 foot. He's also 74-inch reach, 24 years of age with 81% KO ratio. While Shane Mosley Jr., the son of the legend Shane Mosley, he is 21-5 with 12 KOs, orthodox fighter, standing at 6'1", 75-inch reach, 34 years of age. Yes, coming in a decade older than Jesus Ramos. And he is 57% KO ratio. All right. Jesus Ramos, the younger man, obviously by a decade, aggressive southpaw, and he's had that loss to Erickson Lubin. Now, very debatable. I think he won that fight, so he should have already been in title contention. But he's up at 160. He's very confident he can go back down to 154 if needed, but he's fighting for the interim championship at 160. For Shane Mosley Jr., very durable, but inconsistent at the top level. I think this fight is going to be a statement win by Jesus Ramos Jr. I think he's going to win by KO. I think his youth and power should overwhelm Mosley, and we're going to see a dominant performance by Jesus Ramos Jr. I'm excited for this fight. I think this will be great. I think we're going to see a star born in Jesus Ramos Jr. tomorrow night. That's what I'm expecting from him. As for the undercard, the prelims, Frank Martin, Rances Barthélemy. I have Frank Martin winning this fight, but let me be honest. This is going to be intriguing. We've seen Barthélemy go out there and stun some guys in the past. He's given problems to other good fighters. It will be good to see it. And Frank Martin, remember, he has not fought since the Gervonta Tank Davis loss he suffered. So A lot of ring rust will be present in that fight. Isaac Lucero, Robert Valenzuela is also going down. Luis Nunez, Hector Sosa are also on the card. Remember, Elijah Garcia was also supposed to be on this card, but long haul and behold, his opponent failed his drug test. That fight is now off. So Elijah Garcia will not be on this card tomorrow. All right, let's transition now into Matchroom. Actually, we're going to go see real quick. We have a comment in the comment section before we transition to the Matchroom card. Let's go see what we got here right now. All right, so here we go. Appreciate for tuning in once again, my man. So Fulton missing weight and moving up in WBC, make him interim champion at 135 if he wins. Shake my head. I 100% agree. I just went off on it. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, and here's the biggest thing. I don't even understand. The WBC had one heck of an atrocious week anyways, but how do you reward a man for missing weight? It's one of the most, it's mind-boggling. And on top of that, let me just add this other factor in there. He missed weight, and he was the man challenging O'Shaquie Foster for the World Championship. And yet he gets rewarded. On top of that, he's already got 2 pounds on O'Shaquie Foster. 135, he's going to have the weight advantage now. I just don't understand how this is. Props to O'Shaquie Foster for still taking this fight, but I don't get it. What the WBC did was one of the most atrocious, ridiculous things I've ever seen. Unless we have some backstory information and the WBC is going to pay O'Shaquie Foster a big bag of cash, I just don't understand why O'Shaquie Foster even took that opportunity right there. He should have taken a nice payday from Fulton, and it is what it is. I think it's ridiculous. At least, though, we're going to see a situation where Foster gets to keep his belt, so at least that's on the hindsight, and Foster also gets a shot at 135, but regardless of it, I think it's ridiculous. I can't remember something this stupid I've seen from a sanctioning body in quite some time, but it is the WBC. It's ridiculous. I'm still shocked by that. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the chat. Who do you guys have winning the 4 main fights on the main card going down for PBC tomorrow? Let me know your guys' thoughts on that. I'm going to transition now to the UK fight going down afternoon my time, obviously prime time in the UK. The Matchroom card headlined by Shabaz Masoud and Peter McGrail. Super bantamweight fight going down right here. Masoud is 12-0 with 4 KOs. Southpaw fighter, 5'7", 6'8". He also has 28 years of age and 33% KO ratio, while Peter McGrail is 8-1 with 5 KOs. Southpaw fighter. He's 5'6", 6'7", reach, 29 years of age, and 56% KO ratio. Pretty even in terms of the body composition going into this fight. For Masoud, he's a slick southpaw, nicknamed the Maverick, known for his angles and defense. While McGrail, he's a former amateur standout, aggressive, sharp combinations, but he is coming off an upset loss. So who do I have winning this fight? I do have Masoud winning this. McGrail is dangerous, but I think Masoud's much more technically sound. I think he's going to carry him a little bit away in this victory here. But that's where I do have winning this fight. But I want to go to the main attraction here. Now, it is co-main event, but it's a little bit baffling. And if you are American, not aware of UK fighters, this is the fight you want to tune in for. And if I were to make what's the best fight on this card, I would say Conah Walker, Pat McCormack is far and away the best fight on this card. I mean, the other one, I get why it's the main event, but this is the one to watch. If you're American, watch this fight. Conah Walker is one of the great warriors in UK boxing. He is 29 years of age, but one heck of a warrior. 13-3 in his career, 1 draw, 5 KOs, orthodox fighter, 5'9", 70-inch reach, 33% KO ratio, while Pat McCormack, a young rising star in the UK British scene, is 7-0 with 5 KOs. He's a southpaw, 5'10", 71-inch reach, 30 years of age, 31% KO ratio. As I said, this will be a statement moment. For Pat McCormack, this is a man at welterweight who, if he wins this fight, could very well position himself for either a title eliminator or at least some kind of a big fight at 147. He is a young rising star. Every time I've watched this man fight, I love watching him. He's a very good fighter and a man who I truly do believe he has a shot at becoming world champion in the future. Very good fighter. But this is why tomorrow is a significant night for this man. He's going up against a man who is not going to be an easy out. When you see Conah Walker on a card, you know it's going to be a war. This man is a very durable fighter. He goes to war literally every single time. It gets bloody in that ring almost every time he fights. And if he can go out there and he can stop this man, if he can go out there and go to war with him, and McCormack emerges victorious, this will be a statement win that I think legitimately could put him in position for a title eliminator, at least put a top 5 position ranking. Massive possible opportunity for Pat McCormack. But McCormack, if you don't know him, more details, he was an Olympic silver medalist. He's a rising fast man in the pro ranks, and that's who I do have winning this fight. I think Pat McCormack will win by decision. That's how high I am on this man. Like I said, Conah Walker is one of the great warriors in UK boxing, but Pat McCormack is very skilled. He's a very good, sound fighter. He's powerful as well, and I feel like that's going to give him the edge in this fight tomorrow. I think he's going to emerge victorious in this fight, and he will be victorious. And as I said, this is a man to watch because 147, There's a lot of interesting names. It's starting to heat up a little bit at 147, still a weak weight class, but he's a man to keep an eye on. Also going down on this card, Beatriz Ferreira, Elif Nur Johan, also Sean McComb will be fighting Hugo Mikhailov, and then Johnny Fisher, the heavyweight man, will be making his British return against Herbert Mokhtarov. Obviously, those are all fights that are not necessarily great fights to watch, but more tune-up fights for all those guys listed there. Then, let's head into the fight that's going to be kicking off here in what are we looking at now? 9 hours or so. Going down in Australia, Jai Opetaia, Huseyin Cinkara. Cruiserweight IBF title is on the line. Now, for clarification on this, there was a lot of TV deal drama this week if you're not paying attention to it. The Zone and Tasman Fighters. Obviously, Tasman Fighters represents Jai Opetaia, Justice Huni, so on and so forth. There was some issue brewing, I guess, within Matchroom and DAZN and everything going on right there, and they ended up dropping the fight. So for a long period of time, up until I think it was last night, we were not going to be able to watch that fight unless you were in Australia and you paid a pay-per-view fine. Now UFC Fight Pass picked up this fight, so you will now have access to watch this around the rest of the world on UFC Fight Pass. Weird that we're going to have one of the best fighters on the world, Jai Opetaia, fighting on that, but yes, that's how you're going to watch if you do want to tune in for that fight. Let's get to it, though. Very similar to the Erislandy Lara fight I talked about moments ago. I don't really think I need to break this fight down. Jai Opetaia is undefeated. I think he's the best man at cruiserweight. I think he's one of the top 20, 15 maybe even skilled fighters on the world. I think he's a bad man, and this is not a good opponent. Now, props to him, and I had his manager on the show. You guys can go back and watch the interview with Mick Francis from a little bit ago. They tried paying this man to step aside because they didn't want to take the fight because they knew it was going to be another trash can they're going to fight. Cinkara wants this fight. He wants to prove his worth. He is 23-0, 19 KOs, and he thinks he can pull off the upset at the age of 39 years old. I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think so whatsoever. I think Jai Opetaia is going to have an early stoppage here. But just to give you guys a little bit of background, if you guys don't know Cinkara, which I know many people do not know him, he is 23-0, 19 KOs, as I just said, orthodox fighter, stands at 6'3", so he does have an inch on Jai Opetaia, 77-inch reach. He's also 39 years of age with 83% KO ratio. Now, he is German and Turkish puncher. He's unbeaten, high KO ratio, but here's the key part. He has never been tested by anybody decent. There, I said it. We go look at who he's fought. It's not the best looking resume for the man. So if you're wondering, has this man have a good resume? Has he ever been challenged before? The answer is no. And he's going to be stepping inside the ring with Jai Opetaia, one of the baddest men in all the world. How do you think that fight's going to go? Well, IBF Cruiserweight champion, the number one cruiserweight in all the world, in my opinion. The man who holds the Ring Magazine belt. Yeah, it's not going to go well. Jai Opetaia should get an early stoppage here. Maybe Jai Opetaia makes it go 4 or 5 rounds, but really this is Jai's fight. As long as he wants the fight to go, it will go. It's not going to be good. And if Jai Opetaia is upset, I'll tell you guys straight up, I was wrong. Odds are that I'm not going to be wrong on this one. So it is what it is. Hopefully we get a better fight with Jai Opetaia in the near future because this fight is going to be another joke, in my opinion. We were supposed to have a great co-main event on this card. It did get taken out. Justice Huni was supposed to make his return against Kiki Lutele, but that fight has now been canceled. It is not going to happen. That co-main event is off. We had devastating news happen just a couple of days ago. His trainer for Justice Huni unfortunately passed away unexpectedly. So that fight has now been axed. I don't know if it's going to get rescheduled, postponed. I don't know what it is, but thoughts and prayers with Justice Huni and his family, his trainer's family, so on and so forth. But yes, that fight has now been announced that it's been canceled. Justice Huni is not fighting on this card tomorrow morning as a co-main event. Who has been elevated to co-main event? It is Ben Mahoney. He's fighting Winston Hill, 10-round super middleweight fight. Up-and-coming prospect right there. Jake Wiley, remember him? He obviously has had a remarkable year. George Kambosos' fight happened earlier this year. He was very phenomenal in that performance in terms of the way he was able to come in on short notice. Then he's had a Matchroom, has had a couple of fights underneath their belt. He's making his return there as well. Jack Gregory fighting Hayden Emerson. And then, this is an intriguing one right here. Taramoana. He makes his return to the ring in a 6-round heavyweight fight. Keep your eye on this man. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with him in the America States, but this is a heavyweight that's going to be on the rise. When you talk about guys under 30 to keep your eyes on for the heavyweight division, he is firmly in position right there to be one of those top guys. I love this man. He is very exciting. He brings a great energy, great vibe. He's a very entertaining fighter to watch, and boy, is he powerful. So if you have not checked him out yet, Taramoana, I think he's going to get an easy KO once again. Keep your eye on him because this was a man who will be a top contender. Call it, I'd say anywhere between 9 to 18 months, we're going to see him on the heavyweight scene with some big fights. Then Jason Maloney, he's making his return against Herlin Gomez, 8-round bantamweight fight. Should be an easy win just for Jason Maloney to be with his new partnership with Tasman Fighters. He's going to look good right there. And then one more guy to keep an eye on. Max McIntyre fighting Jed Morris, 8-round super middleweight fight. If you once again don't know this man, he is one of the young up-and-coming rising stars coming out of the Australian boxing scene. Max McIntyre, very high-energy man, entertaining fighter, young fighter. Probably will be another 12-ish months until he's on the world scene, but he's rising very quickly. Keep your eyes on this man as well. So that concludes all the fight previews. As I said, lots and lots of fights are going down this weekend. Now, I want to transition real quickly, though, into some boxing news. But before I do that, if you guys do have any more thoughts or comments or predictions or whatever it is, even debates with myself, make sure to go leave that in the chat. And I'll make sure to get back to you guys and answer those questions. Your comment will pop up on the screen at that point in time. Let's head right to it, though. I gave you guys my prediction earlier this week when I said that Callum Smith and the David Morrell fight will be finalized very shortly. It has now come to fruition. Callum Smith, David Morrell deal has been agreed upon. They have now reached a deal for the mandatory WBO interim light heavyweight title fight, canceling purse bids that were scheduled to start today. The exact details on the date of that fight will be announced soon. Obviously, this took a long time, drawn-out process, but I never feared it wasn't going to happen. So this fight should happen in 2026. I think it's a very intriguing light heavyweight fight right there. Other details have been now announced. Jarrell Miller. Yes, Jarrell Miller, the 38 whatever he is year old heavyweight from America. He is in talks to sign with Matchroom. If you guys don't know the backstory, this is a hilarious headline. Eddie Hearn and Jarrell Miller have not gotten along very well for a very long time. Remember, let's go all the way back, what was it, 18 or 19, whatever the year it was when AJ was supposed to fight Jarrell Miller. Yeah, that whole fight, puzzled out and whatever happened there. Jarrell Miller is now in talks to join Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, which is just hilarious. But here's the details. Spencer Brown has said that their talks are ongoing between Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing and heavyweight contender Jarrell Miller, saying this exact quote. This was on Boxing King Media. We're pretty sure we've got a fight for Jarrell. I think he's looking at working with Eddie. Jarrell Miller faced off with the WBA number 2 Linear Pero last month in Orlando. So if you want to have any hints onto who Jarrell Miller might be fighting, it would be that man. And I'll be honest with you, Jarrell Miller would probably win this fight. But the biggest thing is Jarrell Miller. Let's be honest. This is a man who we've always looked at and said, the biggest thing holding Jarrell Miller back is Jarrell Miller himself. He's either put himself in bad position from PEDs, from his dumb mouth, from injuries, whatever it's been. Jarrell Miller has always been the one stopping himself from reaching his level, his highest potential and ceiling. And so, could he beat Linear Pero, who is number 2 in the WBA currently? I think so. I've never been impressed by Pero. I think he's just a subpar fighter that anybody that's a legit top 15 or 20 heavyweight would completely cremate the man. And Jarrell Miller would probably fall in that category. So I think it's a great opportunity. Jarrell Miller would obviously sell decently. You could put him with Linear Pero. He gets the easy win. And then you possibly line him up for a British fight or something. So I see why Eddie Hearn wants to do it. But that partnership right there, just seeing Jarrell Miller and Eddie Hearn work together after all the back and forth that have gone between those two men in the past 5 to 7 years would be one of the funniest storylines to come full circle between those two. But it is what it is. It's boxing. When money's involved, everything else goes out the window. Here we are once again. So that's what I do have for the boxing news today. Not too many things I want to get into, but I hope you guys do have a blessed rest of you guys' weekend. I will be back live on Monday to recap all these fights I just previewed for you guys. Enjoy the weekend this week. Obviously, lots and lots of fights to tune in for. I appreciate you guys all for tuning in tonight as well. May God bless you guys all. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys back live on Monday. God bless y'all. And with that being said, SchuZ out. See y'all on Monday.